I'm Fredy Ceja. I'm a Latino. I'm gay. I'm HIV positive, an alcoholic in recovery. I'm an activist and a public servant. You know, growing up in a large family and being the youngest of 7, I was always trying to please the family. Trying to please the family by not putting it out there that I was different and that I felt different. I certainly was treated different by not just my siblings, but by my peers. I walked funny, and that was brought to my attention several times. I talked funny, that was brought to my attention several times. I used to play handball with the girls during recess, and all the kids were playing kickball. And I always knew I was different, but I didn't want to accept it. I remember in high school, there was a Project 10, one of those LGBT organizations at Southgate High. And they would always try to recruit me, and I used to hate it. I used to be like, why are you coming up to me? They'd be like, hey, we know that you're gay. Why don't you join our group? And I was so offended. I was like, the last thing I wanted to be a part of was a gay group in high school because I didn't know that I was gay and I didn't want to be associated with that group. Going back to your question about bringing people out of the shadows, I've had to do that several times with myself, coming out as gay. Then getting sick when I was in 2006 when I was diagnosed as being HIV positive. I had to come out to my mom as being gay, as being HIV positive, and as having AIDS because my health had deteriorated so much that I had AIDS, and at that time they were not giving you medications until you had AIDS. So it's been a tough road. And now today, had a very public run-in with the law recently that made me realize that I had an issue with alcohol. I'm now in recovery about 8 months, clean and sober. And that too has been something that was very public for me, and I'm happy that it was. It forced me to acknowledge the fact that I needed to stop drinking, needed to realize that I had an issue with alcohol. And that for so many years, go back to high school with growing up without a father, to having all these pressures of being the first one in my family to go to college. All this was building up inside, and I didn't grow up talking with my family about my issues, about the fact that I was gay. I mean, I was bottling everything up inside, and I had no way to express myself. So I suppressed it. I drank, and I numbed myself out for years. You know, the smartest thing I did when I found out I was positive was go work for BIENESTAR, an HIV/AIDS organization for Latinos. There, I not only found that I was working with peers that were HIV positive, but I got to tell my story. I got to, for the first time, say I'm HIV positive and be proud about it, and that empowered me. That switched the light on for me to where I went from being scared about being HIV positive to being empowered, to be able to say, yes, I'm living with HIV. It's not a death sentence. It's let's get rid of all the stigma that surrounds being HIV positive. I'm a professional guy. I'm not gonna lay in my bed dying of HIV/AIDS. I'm going to be productive, and I'm going to show the world that I am going to live as long as I can with this disease. It's a chronic illness, and all I have to do is take my medication, take care of my health, and in turn take care of others, especially the people that I engage in sex with.
Is it hard for you to date?
It was at first. It was very hard because as soon as people found out that I was HIV positive, they'd like say, thank you, but no thank you. And I didn't take it personal because I used to do that myself. Before I was HIV positive, I had wanted nothing to do with somebody that was positive. Not so much because I wanted to discriminate, but I just didn't want to be positive myself. So I found the best way to not contract HIV was not to even date somebody that was HIV positive.
Assuming they were honest.
Assuming, yeah, exactly. And what I found today is that the more honest I am about my HIV status, the more comfortable people are with dating me and being positive. And people, it's a 10 years later, it's a different world today. If you're not on PrEP, if you're not taking Truvada, then your chances of getting HIV are going to be higher. If you're taking PrEP, if you are on Truvada, then your chances of getting HIV are going to be a lot lower. And so now it sort of becomes an equalizer, right? So anytime that I have the opportunity to share my story about being gay, about being positive, and now about being in recovery, I do it. I do it because it's helping somebody else. It's not only helping me, but it's helping somebody else. That person that doesn't have the courage to muster up the words to say I'm gay, or muster up the courage to say I'm HIV positive, or muster up the courage to say, hey, I'm living in recovery and sobriety. There's a lot of shame, a lot of stigma attached to each one of those different facets of people's lives. And if I can be a voice for anyone in those communities, I'm going to do it.